part 2 on the boots. If you didn't watch the tennis shoe series, one thing I like to do is take my pattern and put it on a sheet protector like this, and make a copy of it with a Sharpie pen. So I have some see-through pattern pieces. And the reason I like doing that is so that when I get my material, like for example this is a piece of remnant I have, I can take that see-through pattern piece and I can line up the color variations, and I can see exactly what my pattern is going to look like, my pair of shoes or boots are going to look like before it just, until, so you don't have to figure it out when you you have a pretty good idea of what your shoe's going to look like and your boot's going to look like. Like I also put a center line. I put a center line right down the center here. So in this case, if I was going to make this tiger stripe, I'd probably line my center right down the middle of the tiger stripe like this, so I could have a pretty nice color variation. And I also line I take my sewing edge and line it up right underneath it, so I would get the same color combination. Since the boots are going to be sewn together right on that same angle, you'd want to get as close on a pattern, on a piece of fabric that has a pattern like this. You'd probably want the color combo to be pretty close to each other. So that's just one thing I do to make things easy on myself. Okay, so what I did was I went ahead and pinned my pattern piece, and you can see how I've had to ease this whole thing in, and on this side also. And you can see that that little 1/4 of an inch slit that I made right there is stretched to the max already, and that's what's going to happen when you do these. So now I'm just going to sew that. I'm going to sew it a 1/4 of an inch, and I'm just going to line it up with the side of my pressure foot. And it's best if you sew on the side that has all the gathers on it, so that you can actually help ease it in even better as you're sewing it, and you can see where you're going to have trouble before you have trouble. My camera angle real quick. I don't know if I'm in the right spot or not. Okay, looks good. Okay, so then you're going to take your pins out. See how well I did on this one. Okay, I have a little bit of a buckle, but not bad enough, so I'm going to worry about it. Okay. In fact, this is velour. It's like a crushed velour, a velveteen. I don't know exactly what the name of it is. I got it as a remnant piece. So I don't have to worry about sealing my edges. But if you have a fabric where it's going to ravel, or cotton, you're going to have to turn your edges in 1/4 of an inch and then another 1/4 of an inch, so that it'll cover all of your raw edges. And this is also before you glue your base on. This is also the time you're going to want to sew your trim on once you get get your turn in where you want them. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to go with this. I'm happy with it. So I'm going to take my inner sole boot, and this is just what I'm going to use to get my correct alignment on my boot. Remember how I drew that line? Except now it's going to be 1/4 of an inch less because I haven't done this yet. First I'm going to take this down and I'm going to top stitch all the way down. I'm going to top stitch from the front so I can see exactly where I'm sewing, and then I'm going to make sure that as I sew that this inside is going down. So I just lift it up and check it, make sure my seams are going on the downside. And there's your top stitching. This is from the wrong side and this is the right side. And it's basically just to reinforce your edge because you've also made that little cut there. Remember that little 1/4 of an inch? So this top stitching also makes sure that your boot will not come apart. So that's just a little extra reinforcement. Okay, so let's go ahead and we're going to just use, this is not our base. This is just so we can pin this on for alignment. So I'm going to take my other boot, and this is a right foot, so I need a left foot. Okay, so I'm going to pin this as a left foot. And I'm just doing this to get my alignment to know how much I'm going to turn my boot under on the back. So I'm going to pin this in the cardboard. And tuck it under. I'm going to not tuck it under. I'm just going to give myself 1/4 of an inch leeway. Go in. Okay, so the only thing you need to really worry about is to make sure that this practice sole that you're using is exactly the same size as your inner sole is going to be. Otherwise, the marks you're making on this and the turn-unders you're making are not going to fit your actual sole. The reason I'm not using the actual sole is I don't want to weaken it by putting in needles into it or pins into it. I want to keep it strong so it won't bend. So, like I said, it's the same exact size, so that's not a problem. Okay, so now I know I'm going to be able to turn this one. And I want to give myself an overlap of about 1/4 of an inch. Now I only need to overlap 1/4 of an inch because I'm going to sew the Velcro further in than the actual fabric goes. Also, you want to look, this is your right foot, okay, so your Velcro is crossing over this way, alright, So now you're doing your left foot, and you want your Velcro to cross over the back on the opposite direction. Okay, so this one you want to turn under and put yourself a little pin there. Okay, so turn this one under, and you're going to pin it down. And you've given yourself a 1/4 of an inch. Turn under. Now, if this was cotton fabric and you'd have to do that, you'd have to be turning it under twice, and you'd probably need to give yourself a little more fabric. Okay, but I made this pattern specifically for without having to turn under twice, so I have to add at least another 1/4 of an inch on this for another 1/4 of an inch turn in on regular cotton. Okay, so there's this one. Now this one is going to okay, another thing also on this is it's easier if you give yourself extra fabric, because it's a lot easier to turn under more than it is to have to stretch out an extra 1/4 of an inch. Okay, so let's see how that looks. Okay. Put a little pin here. Put a pin here. And our doll. And this was her. This is her left foot. Velcro going on. Is that going to be good? Yes. Okay. So I'm all ready to take it apart and sew on my Velcro. Okay, so as I remove my pins, I'm going to leave my overlap the way it is. So make sure you don't lose the pins where your overlap is. Okay, so there's that. Now, I did this one first. Basically, what I would do if I wasn't doing this on the video, I'd probably do this part both at the same time, so I got exactly the right dimensions on each one. But I will from now on, because I won't be filming what I'm doing, but I just wanted to make sure this would work before you do it. But it's good to have the same width on both shoes so you know what you're doing. Okay, so this is Velcro. This is basically the stuff you get at Walmart. It comes like this, and it has pink, red, blue. It just hangs on the wall. I think it's like $1.25 or $29, but you can use any Velcro. But if you get this Walmart kind, you need to, for the boots, you just line it up, and then you're going to cut dead center down the middle, and then you're going to use one size for each side of the boot. You should only need about this much, which is, I forget what it is. I think it's about 2 3/4 of an inch. But what you want to do when you're doing it is you want to give yourself that, don't put your Velcro on that 1/4 of an inch, because you don't want that to go underneath. You want it to, see how I've got a little seam right here where I started the Velcro? Yeah, you don't want to put that all the way to the bottom.